Nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Brand new.
Hey, we're talking brand new Joe. Hey, we're on a brand new show. Deep dive, blow by blow. Spotting Uzis and crossbow. Like a buzzbow or pogo. Got ninjas like Don Shadow. Comics are how I spend my dough. We're coming to you in stereo. It's time for Talking Joe. With Mark and Tim, here we go.
Brand new.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I Joe comics podcast. Now, today, we are streaming to you live on a Thursday because Tim has got important things happening on the weekend. So we are coming to you from the unconventional time of a Thursday evening, my time, afternoon, Tim's time. So let's do things unconventionally. Let's not wait for me to do a preamble. Let's just bring in Tim right now. Here he is. He's the real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hi, Mark. Hello, listeners and viewers. So we're talking about G.I Joe issue 15 today, the Energon universe, which was out in stores on December, how does Mark say it? 3rd December 2025.
Indeed, yeah. You're stealing my bit there, Tim. I'm not going to let you come on until I've done my bit ever again. So yes, the official synopsis was: who will survive the Dreadnok war? Duke and Cobra Commander are confronted by an enemy they never expected. But the Dreadnoks aren't far behind. The twice-monthly G.I Joe epic continues right here. And indeed, we're recording a little bit earlier than we normally do. We're recording on Thursday, December the 4th, the day after release. So you'll be pretty safe up to the point that we finish talking about covers. But if you have not read the book yet, there will be spoilers ahead once we get into the plot briefing and beyond.
You mentioned part of our the reason for our change in schedule is because I'm so busy and doing things this weekend when we normally would record or live stream. I just want people to know the thing I'm doing is comics related. I'm going to be tabling at the Massachusetts Independent Comics Expo MICE in Boston, and my store is very specifically there to sell the books of N.D. Stevenson. So if you read Nimona, or if you saw the animated movie on Netflix, Nimona will have that, plus the 10th anniversary edition of Nimona, plus Stevenson's new prose novel, Scarlet Morning. And I got to say, every time I've ever seen the word Scarlet, I think, that has 2 T's, right? And the answer, Tim, no, it only has 2 T's in G.I. Joe, and everyone else is spelling it wrong.
It's only spelled correctly there. Fantastic stuff. So let's delve on into some stuff. Let's talk a little bit about G.I. Joe issue 14 from last time. Tom Reilly has released the unadulterated virgin cover art on his Twitter, so you can see the full glory of that cover art unencumbered by a logo up the top. And I meant to mention last time one thing about issue number 14, which was how cool and toyetic the Thunder Machine was in that particular issue, where it had like a springboard on the back of the Thunder Machine that launched the Dreadnoks through the air. So you could just imagine that being some sort of like spring toy feature on a toy from the, I guess, early 90s when the spring features were a little bit more around the place.
When we did our episode on issue 14, I think early in the episode, Mark, did you say something like Joshua Williamson photographed his actual Thunder Machine for Tom Reilly because of a thing that he wanted, that Tom Reilly wanted to get right? And we were guessing it was what the top of the Thunder Machine looks like, where they added this spring-loaded launcher that is not in the actual toy. Hasbro, take note if you're going to do a HasLab Thunder Machine campaign. Mark, I also think that you should come up with a jingle for when you and I think of something really important that right after we finish an episode, it's like, oh, that thing that I was going to say, or it just occurred to me. It's like, well, we got to wait 2 weeks or a month until we tell everyone that. File under like missed you last week, or Mark will think of some fun song or jingle and write some new lyrics for it. So that can be that thing we just did about the Thunder Machine can be first in a series of that.
Yeah, but then we have to make sure that we forget at least one thing every show. Right. Shout out to Infinite Entertainment, who's joining us live. Is that new? Infinite? Oh no, I think it's YouTube is sort of changing people's handles so that they their display names appear as slightly different things in the comments. Hello lads, is this the best arc the EU Energon universe has had so far? I feel like it might be. It could well be. We've only had 3 issues, but they've been pretty blooming amazing. And speaking of writer Joshua Williamson, he's having a busy December. On screen, I have put 8 of the books that he is putting out in the month of December. Superman versus Captain Atom. There is from the KO series. Night Fight, which is a sort of a Batman tie-in, lots of Bat characters fighting. 2 issues of G.I Joe, plus Superman on. This is Superman Volume 5 trade paperback, the Birthright Deluxe book number 2. All Fight Month continues with KO tie-in Lex Luthor versus the Demon and Red Hood versus the Joker. He's also been promoting Iron Man as he is stepping in as the new ongoing Iron Man writer from, I believe, January. So all Joshua Williamson all the time if you are into your comics.
Right. So for the month of December, Joshua Williamson will have written 6 single issue comics, and then also 2 reprints of existing material will be coming out. And let's not forget that DC's All In Saga, which is the umbrella for the last 2 years of DC Comics, that also includes the Absolute Universe, but is really sort of DC since Absolute Power, maybe before Absolute Power. The All In Saga is credited to, created by Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson. So it's not just that he's writing a lot of DC books, it's that, well, to use a Marvel term from 10 years ago, right now he's a DC architect.
Very cool. And then also flicking back to G.I. Joe number 13 from last time, because Tom Reilly's art is available on his art dealer's website, Modern Mythology Art, and it's being released very shortly after the issues are released in the shops. We're able to sort of get a glimpse of some of the artistic processes and confirm our thinking. For example, that the first and last pages of Cobra Commander and Destro on that giant snake throne, the snake was drawn once, and Cobra Commander and Destro were sort of superimposed over the top of that digitally. So it's always a lot of fun to head on over to Modern Mythology.
Yes, what Mark has on screen right now is a 11 by 17 piece of Bristol, but it's turned sideways, and there's a drawing of Cobra Commander in a sitting position and a drawing of Destro in a sitting position with no background. So what I think people should do, someone should buy this original art and then go to a convention where Tom Reilly is signing, and instead of having him, no scissors, no X-Acto. Instead of having Tom Reilly draw you like snake eyes on a sketch cover, hand him this and ask him to draw a park bench or the like Great Castle Grayskull throne or the Game of Thrones throne. Ask him to draw 2 seats or chairs or leather recliners for Cobra Commander and Destro to be sitting on, so they can be enjoying their space together, as opposed to one's leading Cobra and the other takes over Cobra, as originally depicted in G.I Joe 13.
I know they're on a cinema seats, and they've got a big thing of popcorn in the middle that they're sharing.
It's a date,
and It's a date. Yeah, yeah. They're going to watch Rush Hour 4 together. Also looking at that issue, just very sort of pertinent to what we're about to look at. It shows in great detail the pages of Cobra Commander getting that cinder block to the head, and a reminder of what that was like and what the helmet looked like as it was left behind. So there's definitely sort of a cinder block shaped dent in the side, which is relatively flat. It doesn't go necessarily inside, but the visor is missing a good chunk of one side. Last time around, we were somewhat concerned for quite what would have happened to Cobra Commander, given the severity of that bonk to his bonce.
Here's what I'd like to set up a convention where Tom Reilly and an artist who previously drew Road Pig from the Marvel run have a Road Pig draw off, right? It's like 2 artists enter, both win, having both exit, having won. The accolades. You ever go to a convention and artists do like a draw, like a speed cartooning, or people in the audience are calling out crazy ideas, and whoever draws, they've got 2 artists with pads of paper, and whoever draws a better, crazier thing, then the audience like applauses, and it's just a fun. It's not really a contest. Anyway, now that I've seen how scary and awful Road Pig can look in the new continuity from one artist, I'd sort of like to curl up into a ball and enjoy how reasonably terrifying, not beyond terrifying, he was in the Marvel continuity.
Pretty good. Now, we normally play a jingle and talk about the Energon universe. I think that's probably overdoing things a little bit this time, because I don't think since the last time we spoke there have actually been any new Energon universe books out. So I'll just give a flash onto the screen the covers for the next issue number 25 of Void Rivals, which is meant to be out in comic shops on December the 24th, 2025. That's Christmas Eve. And then Transformers, the next issue, will be issue number 27, out on December the 10th. So just under 1 week's time from now. Always interesting to follow Transformers to see who will who will turn up from that shared universe. We've seen a lot of General Flag, we've seen Doc, so it's definitely worth paying attention to what's going on in Transformers. But we are not here to talk about the Transformers book. We're here to talk about G.I Joe issue number 15, which comes to us from the lead operatives of Joshua Williamson, writer, Tom Reilly, artist, Jordie Bellaire, colorist, Russ, Wooton, letterer, plus ground support, Ben Abernethy, the editor, Andres Juarez, publication design, and Richard Mercado on production. So let's jump ahead to look at those things that they have got a habit of sticking on the front of these here books.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
Cover A is drawn and colored by Tom Reilly. This is just Cobra Commander's helmet, including the silver mask, sitting on the ground. It's desert, but there's no detail in the background. The bottom third at a slight diagonal is sort of reddish sand, just done with color, and the upper 2/3 is just some very pale light blue with some very pale light yellow clouds, just drawn in color. The helmet itself is a bit battered, and the silver faceplate is somewhat shattered on the left side, missing a whole chunk. There is no head in this. This is not decapitated Cobra Commander. This is unhelmeted helmet of Cobra Commander. In the reflection on the right side, the camera, the quote camera, the angle at which we're viewing this, we are on the desert floor looking straight on at the helmet. And directly ahead of us in this reflection, we see Duke on the ground, somewhat struggling and reaching ahead for what must be this helmet. And behind him are Buzzer and Ripper menacingly looming over Duke. Duke's been beat up. One of his eyes is closed. He's got a bloody nose. And then tantalizingly, there's a trail of blood that comes from the bottom, I should say it the other way, that comes from within the helmet toward us on this desert floor, creating a bit of a zigzag, bit of a serpentine curve. And so in this cover, the point of view is Duke. We are basically Duke, sort of reaching forward for this helmet.
And I've been able to grab from Tom Reilly's Art Dealer's website some images that I'll be peppering into the show. So if you want to see this original art yourself and potentially buy it, that is the place to go. modernmythologycomicarts.com. And yeah, if you type in Tom Reilly original art into Google, I am pretty confident you will find the right place. Yeah, another very cool cover.
Cover B is drawn by Eric Canete. Mark and I have remarked in the past how much we like his stuff, how kinetic it is, how exciting that there were just a couple of harder to find ratio tiered variants on some Energon universe books. And now he's just doing, for this arc, the open to order, not rare B covers. Cover B, drawn and colored by Canete, it's divided into thirds. The left third is Duke reacting. The right third is Cobra Commander reacting. They each have a weapon, although it's cropped such that you might miss it, right? There's a pistol that Duke seems to be holding, and there is a laser blaster the Cobra Commander seems to be holding. The middle third, and behind them in orange tones, is Road Pig's house, shack, house. It's a house. A somewhat dilapidated house. Abandoned farmhouse. The middle third, almost as if tearing through the cover, right? Almost as if someone's holding a giant piece of paper in front of you and a real person is like jumping through it at you, is Buzzer. He's all in red, and you really just see his face and a little bit of his collar, because cutting through and sort of covering up even some of Cobra Commander's third of the cover is his chainsaw. So the left third, the right third, orange backgrounds, Duke and Cobra Commander in their basically normal colors. And then the middle is this blood red with this smiling, leering Buzzer. And we're looking up at him, so he's definitely slashing down. Mark, did you have an alternate? Do you have a JPEG or two to toss in here?
Yeah, I did. I was just going to sort of, before we do that, I was going to note that it's a bit of a shame that the chainsaw is behind the G.I Joe logo, because it somewhat flattens out the image. That without the logo there, it does look a lot more 3D. But yeah, Eric Canetti on his Twitter feed, whatever, did share some of the work in progress for this particular image. So he showed his rough draft of the published piece, which is sort of very recognizable, sort of rough state of the final one we got. But we also got a couple of different compositions as well.
Let's just note that on this rough sketch of what becomes the final cover, Cobra Commander is in his sort of traditional 1982 costume, not in his Tom Reilly version 2 Energon universe costume.
Right. Good spot. So composition, alternative composition number one has got Buzzer in the background, sort of holding his chainsaw, and reflected in the chainsaw is Duke and Cobra Commander. There was quite a lot of play in the Cobra Commander mini-series of Buzzer with reflections in his chainsaw, so I suspect that's why they didn't go with this particular one. And then the next alternative was Duke and Cobra Commander in the foreground with this sort of ghoulish, sort of ghostly kind of presence of Buzzer looming over them in the background. Of quite a different composition.
And then the bottom third is that same house in the background, and it's casting shadows before. So in this case, in the one that we got, there's this face-off. In the other version that we didn't get, there's this face-off. In this one, Cobra Commander and Duke are sort of fleeing from the house, from Buzzer, or they're investigating the environs around the farmhouse, and as a specter looming over it all is the threat of Buzzer. And I think all three are great. I think I actually would have picked the middle one, but I'm not dissatisfied with the actual published cover that we got. Although now that you say that thing about putting the logo, if we'd lost the E on the stripes, if those could have been behind the chainsaw, that would be, I would like that more. And longtime listeners will know that I often pointed out during the IDW run on the continued Larry Hama series when something definitely should have been in front of a little bit of the G.I Joe logo, and IDW never budged on that. In the past, I had said, sort of in a general sense, that I just wanted Eric Canete to draw more comics. I don't know about in the last 5 years, but I know that 10 years ago, he was working for a game studio doing video game design. And so when he was occasionally doing comics, that was like in the evenings and in the weekends. And I don't know if anything has changed, but Mark and I both picked up on this fun bit of news a week ago that coming up, Eric Canete will be drawing 2 issues in a row of Absolute Batman for DC, which is a really good, if you're going to dip into comics for just 2 issues, that's a really good thing to dip into. I mean, professionally, if you're going to get paid to draw someone else's book, right? That's a good thing to do. Like the hottest comic running right now, Absolute Batman. But also, Canete's stuff is so kinetic and a little exaggerated that he is definitely in this Nick Dragotta, Daniel Warren Johnson, Declan Shalvey, these are the artists who've drawn that series so far. Oh, also, was it Brian Pulido? Did he do 6 and 7? Anyway, a very stylized, very talented, kinetic artist to do a 2-issue arc on that book. And I'm, if I sound a little sad, it's because he's not swooping in to do 2 issues of G.I. Joe or Transformers. I would also accept 2 issues of Void Rivals. I would also accept 2 issues of G.I. Joe or Real American Hero. But hey, Batman's number 1, so go for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think in terms of the interior pages, Eric Canete was working on his creator-owned series called Arc Athena.
Right.
So I think that's probably taken up a lot of his creative focus over the last few years.
Was that a crowdfunded book?
I think it was crowdfunded. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a mainstream distribution for it.
We should probably talk.
Yes. Let's talk about some different covers.
Cover C is drawn and colored by Ben Oliver. This is not 1 in 10 ratio. Starting with this arc, Skybound has adjusted, and they're not doing as many 1 in 10 covers. Maybe they're not doing any right now for the Energon universe. So again, if your comic book store is selling you this Zorana cover, cover C, for more than cover price, wag your finger at them. So this is it's not a police lineup mugshot, but it has that flavor. It is a straight on head and shoulder shot. It does match the 2 previous, and the 2 that are forthcoming. Zorana is standing in front of this, nebulous, out of focus, sort of grayish blue wall. I don't think it's smoke, but there's nothing specific about it. There's no height, markers. There's no like line for a door or a window. And she's looking almost precisely at us, but just a little bit to the left, just a little bit over our left shoulders. And she's gritting her teeth and curling her lips just a little bit, like she's about to sort of yell at you, or she's like growling with her teeth gritted. But what's so fun about this cover is that it's just these sort of 3 colors. It's pink, it's blue, it's orange, right? Logo, her skin, her jacket, pink, her hair, orange. Everything else basically blue.
And I thought to myself, I think probably some references being used here. And I thought, this must be like Shirley Manson, from the singer from Garbage or something like that. So I sort of set myself a task of doing a bit of Google through to see if I could figure it out. And I found some pictures of Shirley Manson. It's like, yeah, it doesn't feel close enough. And then I thought, what if I just Google lip curl and see what comes up? And one of the top images there was pink, one of the main colours of Zorana's costume. And I think this was absolutely used as the reference for this particular image. It's a very close match.
Oh, interesting. So, photo reference can be used in different ways. Like pink has a completely different nose in the photograph here than Zorana does. Ben Oliver has drawn much more of a furrowed brow straight over Zorana's nose. But yeah, maybe. What I mean to say is artists can use photo reference where they're tracing, where they're looking at it, not tracing, but trying to get it precisely. They can use it for general proportions. They can use it for a general pose, just to sort of check things like, oh, right, this, the ear is a little bit lower.
Yeah, so I don't think he got a bit of tracing paper and literally went over the top with this. It was, he's done enough to make his own stamp on here, and so he absolutely gets a pass from me. In terms of using the reference to create an interesting image and
it's also
interpret
possible
and make something new.
It's also slightly possible that he knows someone, took a picture of this other person doing that same pose with that same face, and it happens to line up pretty well with this photo of pink that, Mark, you found on Google. Everyone, if you see us this summer at conventions and you have found a photo of someone curling their lips straight on at the camera, print it out, bring it to us, and Mark will give you a prize. Okay, cover D. Cover D is the 1:25 tiered ratio. It is got an explosion behind it in the style of the 1980s Hector Garrido G.I Joe Hasbro action figure card art. This time, the character on it is Torch. He's firing his flamethrower torch gun to the right, to his left. He's sort of bracing himself with one knee bent. He's leaning slightly back. This is drawn by Jesus Marino and colored by Adriano Lucas. And it's a fun drawing. I do think every time I see this character design for Torch, I do think it's good, but it's slightly overdone for me. I think it is a good costume, but in my mind, Torch has a vest and you see his shoulders. And so when I see him with these sleeves and with more sort of black leather and more studs on them, I think that's a fun choice. That's an interesting choice. It's like 5% too much for me. But to the extent that you're going to either go for the classified figure design or just add some stuff because it's a different universe and, let's accessorize, it's still very much perfect for Torch.
And while we're talking about this cover, I'll note that we've only got a handful more explosion background covers to come by the looks of things, because the solicitations for G.I. Joe issue number 19 and 20 do not have an explosion background cover. The first issue of a G.I. Joe comic from Skybound in the Energon universe, not to have them. So it looks like the explosion background is being retired.
And folks, if you're thinking, well, we're talking about issue 15, Mark, 15 comics isn't that much. Mark is also, of course, including the 4 miniseries that came before G.I. Joe. So there really have been a lot. Cover E is the 1:50 ratio variant. It's drawn and colored by John Boy Myers. It is in his slightly cartoony, what I think is this like sort of Todd McFarlane influenced style, like a post 1988, 1990 Todd McFarlane style, where characters' faces are just a little bit cartooned. Road Pig is standing amidst fiery debris, giant chunks of concrete and rebar. The background is all yellow and red. He's got blood on him. He's holding his cinder block on a stick over his left shoulder, and with his right arm on a leash, he's holding his dog. In the background, covered up by... you almost don't see it in the version that's printed with the logos. Behind the word Dreadnok for Dreadnok War, there are 2 silhouetted helicopters that are coming. So I think the story here is he's just caused all this destruction, and some good guys are coming in, and there's going to be a fight. I don't think those are Cobra helicopters coming. I don't think those are Dreadnoks helicopters coming to pick him up. I keep being sort of surprised that John Boyer-Meyer's, Skybound has been so sort of seemingly purposeful in not hiring artists who worked on IDW G.I Joe comics. And John Boyer-Meyer's drew some covers for classic G.I Joe, the reprint graphic novels, 10 issues at a time of the Marvel run. And he also did the cover to G.I. Joe issue 0, where Duke is parachuting with a Gatling gun, which was the very first comic of the non-Marvel continuation, like brand new IDW continuity. So this is an artist who's one of the very, very few artists who's put his fingerprints on 3 different G.I. Joe continuities. And I think when you get this, it's shiny. I think this is a foil cover.
I think it's foil. Yeah.
Right.
I should be getting this one in the post because I found it for sale on eBay for not a good value.
Oh, great!
So less than £50 or $50. So I jumped on that one.
And there is a retailer exclusive this month.
There is.
I shouldn't say this month. I should say this bi-week.
This bi-week. So what have we got up as our retailer exclusive? Oh no! I've stepped on the mic.
Why are there so many covers of Baroness?
So we have 616 comics. They must surely be the biggest publisher, biggest purveyor of G.I. Joe exclusives. It seems like almost every issue we've got a new one from them. So this is the Lucio Perillo Baroness cover, available in standard and also in foil. And I believe that there was actually an error for the listing on the inside front cover. Tim, does your printed copy say that this is Carla Cohen?
Yes, it does. I'm holding it up to my camera. It does say Carla Cohen.
There we go.
Okay.
Because Carla Cohen is doing the cover to G.I. Joe issue number 60.
No,
which is
editor Ben Abernethy. No, publication design. Andres Juarez. No.
So it's a companion piece by Carla Cohen of Scarlet in a very sort of sympathetic style, and sharing a sort of purple, smoky kind of background. So looking very much like they're kind of sharing the same space.
Yeah, since you told me that these are different artists, now I can see the difference. The white highlights in Perillo's cover for 15 are more pronounced, and there are almost no white highlights, and they're a little softer in Cohen's cover for 16. But in broad strokes, I would have thought that these are just the same artist, particularly since the covers seem to combine. It's pretty rare you have 2 artists drawing
unusual
covers that connect, unless it's like some retro, unless it's this upcoming Ninja Turtles Battle Nexus miniseries where the turtles from different continuities are fighting. And I think for each of the covers, they've got like one artist drawing the 4 turtles in one style from one continuity on the left and then another on the right. That's fun. If this name for the artist on this cover for issue 15, is it Lucio Perillo, is familiar, painted covers, a lot of painted covers for Dynamite the last couple years. And right now, the monthly Thundercats book paints the covers, paints the A covers for Thundercats.
Very good. So that is the covers, which means that I think the next thing we do is go into a plot breakdown. So the ink is still wet on this particular comic. It only came out yesterday at time of recording, December the 3rd. If my calculating of one, take away one from 4 works, then so if you haven't read it, this is your time to pause this, come back, read it, come back, and avoid all of the spoilers, because we are jumping right into spoiler territory with a plot breakdown.
Plot breakdown.
In an abandoned town in the Chihuahuan desert, Duke is knocked unconscious by Road Pig, dragged to the attic and hung from the ceiling, next to a maskless Cobra Commander. Dangling from hooks, Duke finds out more about the mysterious Cobra Commander. Buzzer and Ripper arrive and clash with Road Pig, but they end up bonding over a love of grape soda and doggies. As Buzzer taunts Cobra Commander, he leans in, and Buzzer is bitten by the Commander. The pair are dragged outside, where the rest of the Dreadnoks have now arrived. Elsewhere, Hawk helicopters on board a mysterious ship, meeting with arms dealer Astoria Colton Ritz, only to be surprised that he's actually meeting with Destro, who is offering an olive branch and information on the robots. And finally, back at the pit, Clutch gets nervous about Duke, calls in the rest of the team from their recovery mission in Chicago, but will leave now with CoverGirl and maybe someone else who can help them. Dun, dun, dun.
I can guess who's going to help them, but that's like page 2 of the next issue, so I'm not even going to say it.
Guess. Do it.
Hound.
Guess.
Hound.
See, I think we are meant to think of Hound, but I think that who is actually talking about is Matt Tracker.
Oh. Well, I guess that's why you're the host and I'm just the co-host. Wait, does that mean if Matt Tracker's not in the next issue and it's Hound, I become host and you become co-host?
Does that mean that you do more work?
No.
And I do less?
I would. I'm stepping back. I'm stepping back from this challenge. I'm going to put my terrifying Road Pig mask on and just scooch out of view of my camera.
Scooch out, yeah, and then loom back in with some glowing eyes. Yeah, he says, I know someone who can help us. So it could be Hound. It could be Matt Tracker. I think we know that he's coming back at some point in the future, and that Clutch does have this personal connection to him. So could be either, could be both.
Masked Crusaders, can't wait.
Any opportunity.
This is Skybound has figured out this recipe, which is people love Mask, but not a lot of people, and the way to do Mask is not a Mask comic. It's to do it in someone else's comic, which is insulting to that small minority of Mask fans who just want there to be a Mask comic, the way that I don't think that there needs to be a G.I Joe movie where they show up in a Transformers movie. I think that G.I Joe can handle its own movie. I have been outvoted. Okay, anyway, so issue 15.
We're in the middle part, literally the middle, because I think what was it? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So, the middle part of a 5-parter. And I'm really big on maths this time. And you can even read it on the front cover where it says part 3 of 5. And also, by the way, Tim, those covers, wasn't it cool in the top left-hand corner of these covers, the way that we're getting to have some of the key characters from each issue illustrated and highlighted as appearing in the issue?
Yeah, I love the heads. Are you telling me that it's different heads for each issue? Are they cycling through different heads? My copies of 13 and 14 are in another room. I can't walk away from the camera.
I couldn't say absolutely every single issue by issue, but they definitely cycle through them to focus on characters that are more focused on in any particular issue. So it's just a nice little cool detail that I wanted to call out before I forgot. But speaking to the letters page, they said after the last two issues, we knew we needed to let everyone take a breath. Did you take a breath on this nice, relaxing, not at all action-packed or stressful or horrific issue?
I took a half breath. I did find it stressful. I was going to say to you in my sort of broad strokes reaction to the issue, sometimes the other monthly G.I. Joe comic, we read an issue and it feels sort of like what I have called a transition issue, where it's not the beginning of a story, it's not the end of a story. There isn't some big revelation, and a bunch of chess pieces are being moved around a little bit, but it's sort of setting up some bigger things to happen an issue or two down the road. And that's totally fair in this comic, since it's part 3 of 5. There was the crazy sort of jumping hopscotch Frogger chase Mad Max scene in the previous issue, and it just wouldn't do to do that again this issue. So this issue needed to be different. But when I finished this issue, I thought, okay, great comic. I'm satisfied. It didn't hit me as much as the 2 previous ones because there wasn't some like, I'm going to Texas on a crazy mission sort of beginning. And there wasn't there weren't sort of the bigger shocks, but seeing a little bit of Cobra Commander, even in shadow without his helmet and mask, that was a kind of shock. Seeing Destro on that yacht for this surprise meeting that's definitely not going to turn out well, that was a shock. Seeing that Road Pig is not connected to the Dreadnoks, it wasn't a shock, but it was a surprise because the way that the toys were introduced in the 80s. This, the first year you got 3 Dreadnoks, and then 2 years later you got another Dreadnok, or a year later, and then 2 more, and then another one, and then another one, and the packaging said Dreadnok, and maybe the file cards mentioned Zartan, but the file cards certainly said, join the Dreadnoks, one of the Dreadnoks. And in the Energon universe, all bets are off. And in the previous issue, the way that Road Pig was introduced, I thought, oh, this guy might be a lone wolf. A lone dog or a lone pig, you might say. And as this issue proceeds, like, no, he's not a Dreadnok. They don't know who he is. He's not like, he is a Dreadnok. This whole thing just happened to happen near his crazy house. But then there's this other surprise where they do get along and he's going to kind of be a Dreadnok. So I think what this issue is really about is moving some plots and subplots forward a little bit so that you can have this 3-page conversation between Duke and Cobra Commander. That's the real winner for this issue. And everything else in this issue is sort of new but also familiar and reminds me of interesting things that have happened so far in the Energon universe, and I'm happy to talk about them. But if we could only do a 10-minute episode, I would just want to talk about the 1 page where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, page 4, and then the 3 pages where Duke and Cobra Commander have this 9-panel grid conversation. Because, wow.
Yeah, and looking at the original art for this, the black and white inks, it really strikes you how this 3-page sequence looks different to the rest of the book. There is, it's striking how much black ink there is across these particular panels, particularly without no color, no dialogue. Apart from the Joker sort of joining the room in the last panel of the 3rd page.
Yeah,
there.
I think it's raining. It's like the end of Killing Joke.
Somebody turned off the torch.
Actually, I would not be surprised if somewhere in the writing or drawing or editorial someone said, "This reminds me of Killing Joke." Whole scene in general, not that final panel. Sorry, please continue.
Yeah. True, yeah. I mean, and also sort of John Higgins' original colours for that particular issue of the Killing Joke now we're talking about, they were quite sort of vivid and contrasty to the the very refined line work as well, sort of like lots of quite striking purples and all of that kind of thing, but also a lot of horror there. So the original colorized edition of Killing Joke does feel like somewhat like a bit of a companion piece to this in terms of some of the horror elements and also some of those sort of that dialogue between the two main characters, the lead protagonist and antagonist. They're finally able to hang out, Tim.
Just one sentence on this, since we're talking about Killing Joke. When it was reprinted some years ago as a hardcover, Brian Boland recolored it, and the colors are much more muted, and the 3 flashbacks have a slightly different treatment. If you like the original colors and don't want to spend a lot of money on any of the 13 printings of the original edition, it is coming back into print as a facsimile in I think 2 months, so you can get it for $5 or $6, maybe $7, with the original colors. But this is a good point, that it's not just that. It's not just the artwork. I don't know that Tom Reilly's specifically looking at Brian Boland here, but there is, particularly when you're showing us these black and white originals, there is a little bit more detail in these faces, despite the fact that they're cast in shadow, just sort of at the edges, just a few more lines for Duke's furrowed brow, and just very, very sensitively drawn and well observed. And then, there is actually a lot of detail on Cobra Commander's reptilian, scaled, scarred skin. I think he has a giant eyeball on the top of his head.
Yeah, so we're seeing, he's heavily in shadow, and so we don't get that sort of full-on illuminated image of Cobra Commander's face, and indeed, Ripper jokes about it towards the end of the book, that he throws him back his helmet. He says, "Put this back on before you make me toss my cookies, you snake." He does get his helmet back on at the end of the book, ready for next issue when he'll be doing some other stuff. But yeah, we do get the sort of shadowy images of Cobra Commander unmasked, which is sort of striking, just generally seeing Cobra Commander unmasked. But then all of these hints of the scarring, and particularly this sort of gruesome eyeball on the top of his head. And I
wasn't sure it was an eyeball. I thought it was a hole or like a plug. But when he attacks Ripper, you sort of see him. Cobra Commander lunges forward.
Buzzer,
Buzzer. When Cobra Commander lunges forward, much of his face is again still obstructed. It's out of the shadow, but there's definite
eyeball
buzzers. There. Yeah, it is a reference to G.I. Joe the movie, the animated movie. That this is some take on the Russ Heath animation model sheet of Cobra Commander as this snake man, mutated man.
I was just going to sort of just call out specifically about the eyeball that let's not forget that in Cobra Commander issue 1, he was the scientist at Cobra La, and the backstory seems to suggest that he's a human that has been taken in, but then he had an attack, was sort of blown up by this kind of Cobra La grenade, had this strange Cobra La-y surgery healing with being bitten by a 3-headed snake and weird jellyfish things, and then as he is recovering in his let's call it a hospital bed, it's fairly clear there that he's got this sort of extra eye on his forehead. So we're not necessarily seeing anything new, but we are definitely seeing more of that kind of damage and when the scarification of his face and Yeah, all of the rest of it is gruesome. Shall I? Did you want to skip back to?
Yeah, the page where they're talking. So it's interesting. So I'm holding my comic in my left hand, and I'm looking at the original art that you have on screen. Can you zoom in on the 4th and 5th panels? In the original art, it looks like Tom Reilly redrew from panel 4 to 5. In the comic that I'm holding, it looks like panel 4
more repeats.
Panel 4 is actually a ahead of time repeat of panel 5. And that's interesting because I don't see anything in the original art where they're sort of drawn a little bit differently from each other, even though they're intended to be identical, that it needed to be replaced with a copy and paste frame. Not bad. I'm just sort of curious about that decision, because when you put up the art, I was going to say, oh, neat, Tom Reilly could have just copied and pasted. There could have been a blank panel here with the note to himself, copy and paste in Photoshop. And he didn't. He redrew the whole thing. But now I'm looking at the comic, and he did copy and paste. So I wonder why. But anyway, the best line of this whole issue happens on this page. And the setup for this scene is that, yes, okay, right now, Mark has zoomed in to panels 4 and 5 of page 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, page 12. You know this Cobra Commander, you know what this artwork looks like to me, actually. We can be saying, oh, maybe Tom Reilly is thinking of Brian Boland. I'm also getting a little bit of Bernie Wrightson and Swamp Thing. And that's a horror comic from the 70s at DC, particularly since Cobra Commander in this scene, does he have a little bit less of a nose than a regular person? Anyway, hard to say.
Yeah.
The line that sets up this best scene of this whole comic is, all right. So on page 4, we establish that Duke and Cobra Commander are prisoners in the attic of this scary house, and they're both shackled. They can't escape. And it's established in this moment that Cobra Commander is either unconscious, dead, probably not, or, sort of faking it unconscious. And then you skip ahead to page, 11, and this 3-page conversation continues, and Cobra Commander says this really interesting thing, which is, why did you save me? And what I love about Joshua Williamson's take on G.I. Joe is, and you said it indirectly already, Batman and the Joker, Williamson is putting Duke and Cobra Commander as these two opposite numbers, that Duke is the best of the best of the best, and Cobra Commander is the worst of the worst of the worst.
And also perhaps another contrast that Duke is a little bit more reactionary, sort of impulsive. Cobra Commander a little bit more cold, calculating.
Yeah, but this relationship, this dynamic is new for G.I. Joe, because we didn't see it in the animated series. It wasn't like Duke in the animated series had it in for Cobra Commander and Cobra Commander had it in for Duke. It was sort of the whole G.I. Joe team that Cobra Commander wanted to defeat. And Cobra Commander was sort of equally distracted by Destro and then Serpentor, and, each day, his MacGuffins and his schemes. And there were so many G.I. Joe characters to introduce that, even though it seems like Duke was in a lot of episodes and the star of a lot of episodes, across 100 episodes, he wasn't. And then in the Marvel continuity, he doesn't show up in the first one. He doesn't show up for 2 years. And once he showed up, he was just part of the ensemble. And it's, Scarlet, Stalker, Storm Shadow, Snake Eyes who get a lot more attention. And, nowadays when Duke does show up, he tends to be in the pit in front of a computer screen telling someone what's going on. And although, issue 200, I always go back to IDW issue 200, which now that I haven't read it in a long time, I think I hope I'm not building it up too much in my head because I've completely forgotten what happens in it, except that I liked it. And I got a letter in the letters page a couple months later because of what I wrote about 200. But here in the Energon universe, there aren't a lot of Joes. Duke keeps being important. He was in the first of these Energon universe G.I Joe comics. And even though it is a team and he's not the main character, he is a really prominent character. And this scene is just sort of accentuating that. Okay, here's how I'll phrase it differently. If this was the Larry Hama G.I Joe and a scene like this happened, it might be like Scarlet and Snake Eyes. And Scarlet is saying something and Snake Eyes isn't responding because they're both prisoners. Or if it's a good guy and a bad guy, maybe it would be like Don Marino and I don't know. Maybe it would be like Destro and Baroness. Maybe it would be like Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. But in the Larry Hama comic, this would not be Duke and Cobra Commander. And because it is Duke and Cobra Commander, it just lands differently. I think in a really neat way, Joshua Williamson has pulled out of my brain the sort of Duke that I never realized I wanted, which is like, it's like what the first live action movie was trying to do. Like, no, he's the guy. He's the best, the smartest, the fastest, the handsomest, the daringest. And even when this comic takes a break from him, you know, we get a Night Force issue or we have Clutch and Hound doing some shenanigans. I know that Joshua Williamson is going to come back to Duke because the sort of inciting event for this whole part of this continuity is Duke is co-pilot in a jet and a giant metal man destroys the jet and kills his friend. So we're going to always have to come back to Duke. You know, it's like, we have to find the robots. And Duke says in this issue, you are the key to it. I believe you have information I need. I believe you know what those robots are.
And also, I guess because the Energon universe really started, well, G.I. Joe in the Energon universe really started with the Duke #1, it sort of frames it very much from his point of view. And we've got the same creative team then launching G.I. Joe #1. And particularly in that first issue, Duke was, you know, very much the lead and really that first arc. So it sort of feels like a continuation on. It's like, you know, you could have Duke with G.I. Joe as the logo if we were in the late 90s, perhaps.
Right. On this comic, you mean? Yeah.
Shall we do a bit of a walk through the book a little bit?
I need to go back to. I need to actually say the best line of the issue, which is which I hadn't even gotten to because I thought it was why did you save me? But no. No, that's the third best line of the issue.
Okay.
Even though if we could only do a 10-minute episode, we would focus on these 3 pages. I could talk about these 3 pages for an hour, but I'll restrain myself. No, the best line comes on panel 3 of, I think it's page 11. Duke says, "Are you human?" And these 2 panels that we've talked about, which in the original artwork are 2 different panels drawn to look the same, and in the comic are a copy and paste. And Cobra Commander does not respond in the first of the 2 panels, and then he does, and he says, "I do not wish to be." And so much of all G.I. Joe mythology, every comic, the cartoon, those movies, it sort of comes back around to who is Cobra Commander? The same way that so much of Star Wars, let's just say the original 3 movies or all Star Wars sense, is like, who's Darth Vader, right? Well, he's a good guy, he's a bad guy, he's a good guy, right? He's got a son, etc.
It's a cute little moppet.
Once he was, yes, but weren't we all? And you know, in the cartoon, you know, there's before the animated movie, there's this hint off camera that Cobra Commander has a scary face, and you know, in the comic, in the Larry Hama comic, he's just a regular disgruntled American domestic terrorist, but he's just a guy. He's just a white guy. He's not a snake man. He's not an alien or anything. And here, this answer is so vague, but also so telling. And, I had forgotten sort of everything that happened in Cobra Commander during the minutes I was reading this issue. And so this all felt very new to me. I mean, it also would have been fun to reread Cobra Commander before this issue, but I can't reread 5-issue miniseries all that often when they're only like 2 years old. That line just really hit me. But I also so appreciate, zooming out a little bit on this scene, how Duke says, I think you are the key to a lot of crazy things in this world, and I'd love to get you in a room for some questions, right? Because it's like, why did you save me? So I can take you in, because I want you as prisoner, because I want you to help us and stand trial, right? That's what Duke's saying. But then Cobra Commander sort of humors him and just answers a few of his questions. And that Williamson is giving us some little reveals in this scene when things seem so terrible. I'm just so struck by this scene.
And I guess also, as a comparison as well, there's that interrogation scene in Cobra Commander issue 3, is it? Where the Dreadnoks have captured him before, as they have here, and are trying to get information out from him, and he's completely impenetrable, just a silent, unspeaking, mirror, faceless mirror. Here, we see him in all of his, apparent frailty, without the mask, and also he's answering the questions that are being answered of him by Duke, which to some degree is a surprise that he's being quite so open with Duke here.
Yeah, because you could write this scene differently, where Cobra Commander doesn't say anything and Duke is just frustrated. You could write this scene where Cobra Commander taunts Duke and threatens him. You could write this scene where Cobra Commander does answer, but every answer is a lie, or is sort of
a
even
half-truth or a riddle, or
or a riddle, and that would be fun, but frustrating. And I think Williamson is coming from a place of confidence where there are still so many secrets to be revealed, and so many new characters to introduce, and so many interactions, like when they still haven't really met any Transformers. And this issue makes a reference to that, but that, even at this sort of early point in what I hope is a long run, Cobra Commander can give Duke some information. At the same time, I think Williamson has figured out that even though I'm satisfied and tantalized by these answers that Cobra Commander gives Duke, they're not everything. And, if Duke gets out of this and he goes back to base and he says, okay, I learned a couple things from Cobra Commander, that's actually not going to help him that much, right? Which is sort of, Williamson can have his cake and eat it too. He can satisfy me. He can satisfy Duke, but and push the narrative forward. But he's also actually not giving away that much, because they still don't know, what to do about the robots, and they still don't have their, own Energon, and they still don't know about Cobra Law, and they, etc.
A bit. I mean, it's some of the dialogue sort of reveals quite how little Duke understands about the robots at this point in time, because he says, "You didn't make those robots." He's thinking that Cobra Commander built the robots at this point in time,
which
and so
totally,
the reveal that they're
totally
not.
reasonable at this point to at least ask.
But we find out that basically Cobra Commander wants to be a robot, and Duke says that he doesn't need to be a dang robot. But it sort of talks to the conflict of that Cobra Law ideology of the organic and the hated metal that Cobra Commander clearly is completely on the other scale of revering the technology and wanting to, I guess, become more of the technological with his hand. But there's another great line in the sequence as they close it out. If people are always trying to kill you, maybe you need to rethink your approach to life, says the man waiting for execution right beside me. So let's rewind back to the start. Last issue, we ended on Duke seeing Road Pig sort of coming out the doorway for the first time, and he's a big guy. Duke's not intimidated. He's looking for a fist fight. He's brought his fists to a cinder block axe fight, and he gives the Road Pig a big old punch to the gut, which sort of ripples out with this sort of glorious effect. And I'll shout out a cool reference, but it probably isn't, which is King Hippo from Mike Tyson's Punch Out, if I'm remembering correctly. And I'll thank Audible Interlude for that reference because I didn't come up with it myself, but it's glorious. And on the coloured art for this as well, there's a lovely little effect on the cinder block as Road Pig sort of, what does he do? He hits Duke with it, and it's very subtle. There's a nice little just sound effect of Thoom actually written onto the cinder block itself. It's
in perspective.
In perspective, ever so subtle.
It's as if it was like stencil spray painted onto the bottom of the cinder block on a stick. So when it's sort of aiming a little bit away from us, so is the word. That's some very nice work, Russ Wooton.
Yep, and not on the original art, because we've got it in front of us, so able to immediately ascertain who gets credit for that one. So what next? Yeah,
scary mannequin with a knife in its head. I guess it's just a mannequin. It's just a mannequin bust. It's just the head.
Yeah, and it's in this sort of ghastly green to make it pop out. This weird stuff that is just appearing in Road Pig's house as he's dragging Duke through it, and somewhere else in the that attic room, there seems to be just a bag of human remains as well, sort of just generally pretty garish hints of horrific stuff kind of in these boxes in that attic, and potentially a hint that this isn't Road Pig's first rodeo when it comes to dragging people up to his attic and hanging them up from the ceiling.
Both Reilly and Bellaire understand that you can imply a lot without showing a lot. Here on page 4, in the distance by that window,
right?
There's a
meat cleaver
that's just sticking into a table, and there are all these boxes with sort of cloths,
like bones,
cloth over them. But Reilly is not showing you a bunch of gore. He's showing you a bunch of shadows and a bunch of obstruction with a little bit of gore. And then, something that I love about the way that Marie Severin colored EC comics in the 50s, the war and horror comics, is when one of the artists drew some horrible zombie or act of murder or sort of violence in warfare, if it was just kind of too horrible, she would knock it out in one color. So like, a monster strangling a woman, or like a soldier firing and killing a bunch of other soldiers. Just that whole panel becomes like blue or light blue or orange, or maybe in a sequence of panels, sort of 3 different colors, and maybe the colors relate and maybe they don't. And all these reds and oranges and purples that Bellaire is picking here are acting both as sort of just an ink color that creates an effect for mood, but is also acting as light, sort of as if this whole scene is taking place during a fiery sunset at like 7 p.m. in the summer in Texas. And then because, she's interested in like contrasts and opposites, back to page 3, that panel with the mannequin head when Road Pig is dragging Duke. It's like, well, what's the opposite here of a red orange, like, well, a blue green. So that just creates a contrast. And then the 3 panels after that, there's just like 1 or 2 colors. And it reminds me, this page in this scene reminds me of all the really interesting horror comics that have been published by Oni and Image and Skybound, actually, in the last 3 years. Books like Hello Darkness and The Silver Coin and the 3 new EC revivals, Creepshow, right, which is Skybound, where there might just be an image of like a hallway with a door, and something terrible happened behind that door, and it's just all red. And here we've just got a bunch of red. And it's not because everything's covered in blood, and it's not because there's a red light bulb. It's just because that's the feeling.
Yeah, and to your point about sort of color, this book is absolutely gorgeous with Jordie Bellaire's color, and the next page, there's not a huge amount of sort of stuff happening. It's basically the 2 Dreadnoks talking, and then the introduction of Raucous the dog at the end of it. But sort of just the contrasting oranges and sort of grey blues, and then the pop of Ripper's sort of sunglasses against their very sort of muted, torso colors. None of it is your expected local color. Give someone a page, the blank page of the line work, and tell someone to draw that. No one else is going to come up with the same result that Jordie Bellaire has come up with here. It's every page is sort of is heightened and elevated, I think, by the team up of the the lines and the colors coming together.
We're looking at page 5 right now, and the second tier of panels 2, 3, 4, with these 2 Dreadnoks talking. If you showed me Jordie Bellaire's colors in process, and all she had done so far was just colored them, just that sort of gray. There's a lot happening in the gray. There's a lot of like red and blue noise, but it reads as a like very, very, very dull violet gray. If you just showed me that and nothing else on the page had been colored, not even the orange backgrounds, I'd say, no, this is ugly and it's not going to work. And because it's set off by these medium oranges, these saturated darker oranges, because on those 3 panels, all three of them have sort of glowing, like pinkish red glasses reflections, and also because the art is really good. I sometimes think about this thing. I think it was in issue 1, maybe 2 of Spawn back in 1992. Steve Oliff, who his company, his studio for coloring was called Oleoptics, and there's this character that looks like it's just sort of like an armature, and it says, "The better you draw, the better we color." It was an ad. It was a 1-page house ad for his coloring services, which may have just been him. And I remember seeing that and sort of understanding, like, the better you draw, the better we color. And part of what's happening here, I mean, Jordie Bellaire's colors are going to make every artist's art look better, but that there is all of this like really careful drawing of details and equipment, straps and belts and guns and chainsaws. But then really like everyone's face and sort of head shape is different. Everyone has a different body type. There are all these facial expressions that are happening. Like last episode, I pointed out like one of the Dreadnoks looking sort of incredulous when Destro says something and Ripper is like reacting like, "Oi!" Right? I mean, just look at this expression here on this second panel where these 2 guys are like brothers and they're having a moment, right? And Buzzer says, "I missed you, Ripper. You were with Cobra for too long. I was so glad we got your message." And I thought, I love this because the Dreadnoks are a kind of family. We don't really get that until the Josh Blaylock Devil's Due take in the 2000s. They're not coworkers. They're like mercenary punk criminal savages. They're domestic terrorists for hire. It's a gang. But look at what Reilly's doing with that those 3 curved lines over Ripper's glasses, 1 for the brow, like an eyebrow, and 2 for the center of his forehead. And I was turned back, right? Like he's taking in this feeling of missing you. And then on the final panel of the page, when he sees the dog, and it's the sooner Tom Reilly and Jordie Bellaire stop drawing this amazing comic, the sooner I can stop spending half of every episode just pointing to panels and saying, look at how well this is drawn. Look at how interestingly this is colored. And I hope, though it's repetitive, it stays interesting, because reading the comic certainly stays interesting. But Bellaire's colors are like, she has an incredible launching pad, because these are not just good pages. These are great pages. And I am disappointed for everyone who's like, G.I. Joe, pass, right? It's like, no, it's fun. I've made this comment before. It's like, someone's like, oh, the Buffy the Vampire comics are so good, you should read them. I'm so happy for you. Never seen the show. I'm just not going to read the comics. I'm just not. I'm sorry. I'm never going to read those comics. I'm happy they're great, and I'm happy they got better as they went along. So I know there are people out there who are just never going to read G.I. Joe. But for anyone who might read them, like, oh, I had the toys, or I've heard they're good, I kind of like it, or, well, I like Transformers, maybe I'll hop over. Like, you are missing out. I feel bad if you are missing out on all this great Tom Reilly and Jordie Bellaire work.
And if the letters page are anything to go by, people are discovering this and digging it. And there's a nice little sort of scene here as well, sort of interplay with Buzzer and Ripper. It's nice that, as you point out, there's these contrasts, and they're drawn so differently. Ripper, this huge hench guy, and sort of Buzzer, this more sort of scrawny kind of guy next to him. That sort of different visual sort of silhouettes to them all, making them all very distinctive is great. But yeah, they're talking about the chainsaw hand being the coolest thing ever, and then there's this line, yeah, but I have to be real careful. Remember Thresher? He came in for a high five that one time, and I forgot. And well, there was so much blood, I couldn't get the stains out my trailer. Dang, I liked Thresher. So is Thresher dead? Maybe Buzzer doesn't make it completely clear.
I think
Ripper talks about him in the past tense, but he doesn't know the full truth. So,
I have 2 guesses. One, he's going to be one of these zombie experiments that Destro and Cobra Commander were talking about, the way that Major Blood got to his eyeballs replaced. 2, Thrasher's going to come back. He's going to have a lacrosse stick for a hand.
Very good. So they get the dog. What's Nice Pup doing out here? And then the surprise from Road Pig coming in with his giant cinder block. Get away from my dog. And there's definitely accurate physics at play here as the cinder block meets arm attached chainsaw, able to block it, but the cinder block is damaged by that interplay. And what happens? We just have to have a cool sequence of Road Pig going into his boot of his the trunk of his car, and just getting out his cool new toy, which is literally the cool new hammer accessory from his classified figure. So it's a nice way of introducing this extra toyetic element, and the other Dreadnoks are basically like, oh, that's cool. Say hello to Mom.
Hey, I can finally say something bad about Tom Reilly. Zoom in on the 3rd panel here. We're on page 15.
Okay.
It's not really bad.
Are you talking about the 3rd panel, just the empty white space where the word clang would have been?
Sort of, because Tom Reilly does lightly pencil in his version of the word clang. And Tom Reilly, great artist, great designer, great storyteller, maybe not the best letterer. And although he picks an interesting sort of hand-drawn font, it's a sans serif font, the C almost connects to itself. The G's got I don't know what you call it when the G thing bends back at a right angle. But can you zoom in? Can you zoom in? Yeah, zoom in on that. Well, now it looks really light. And I'm going to put my printed page, and the proportions of Tom Reilly's C and Tom Reilly's G, just not as good as Russ Wooton's. So, I should phrase this differently. I should say, isn't this a fun comparison we can make where sometimes we say like, oh, the best lettering, you don't even notice it. Well, that's not actually true. The best lettering, it doesn't distract you. It only adds, and you do notice it. And you would sort of like how it accentuates things, particularly with like a sound effect or a sound effect that's becomes part of the art. And it's pretty subtle here, but the proportions of these 5 letters are they're just more satisfying in the hands of the professional letterer than the pencil and ink artist who didn't even need to scratch in anything there. When I say I'm picking on Tom Reilly, I'm sort of saying that jokingly, and I'm saying it again to demonstrate what a good letterer the letterer is.
And to be fair as well, the Wooton here has kind of he's followed the broad sweeps of what Reilly is kind of suggesting in terms of the letter treatment. It's not a million miles away. From there's
only 2 or 3 treatments you'd pick for this anyway, right? Like you're not going to do like a jagged like electricity font. You're not going to do like
scripts.
Script
papyrus.
Or like you're not going to do like the Boston Globe, Washington Post, like old type font. Okay, so then we get this helicopter, and I think and. It's a very cool looking yacht.
Well, you call it a yacht.
Oh, what is it?
This is
the
USS Independence, a littoral combat ship, LCS, which is a new family of surface ships for the US Navy.
Oh, okay. Folks, if you're listening and not watching, Mark has just pulled up a JPEG of what looks like a computer rendering of exactly the ship that Tom Reilly has drawn at a slightly different angle. It looks a little futuristic, and I didn't know that this was a real thing. Certainly describing it as a yacht is the wrong scale. How did you find this, Mark?
I actually, on this one, I did a Google image search against the comic book image to see if there would be a close enough match. And it did suggest it, and then I sort of searched around the initial suggestion, so I was able to kind of track down a bit more information about the ship specifically, and a couple of other images that's kind of closer. But
all right, so on this page, Hawk gets out of the helicopter that has landed on the back of this ship, and he walks up to Miss Carlton Ritz. But we know who this is, right?
That's Chameleon, Tim. That's the baddie. That's the lady from the miniseries Destro, and the baddie that has joined Destro and in Cobra.
Yes, and in the Destro miniseries, she had this civilian life as this rich person who was in arms, and she had a wig, black wig, and then she actually has blonde hair.
Or which one is the wig? Is it the black or the blonde?
I think it's reversible. I think she's bald and she has a reversible wig. And if she robs a bank, she can just flip it and no one knows it's her as she makes her getaway. And then in the Destro miniseries and in G.I Joe issue #1, she gets a Cobra outfit that's red and black. So this is a bad guy that Hawk is meeting with. He sure is playing with fire here. And then there's this page turn reveal. She says, a close ally asked if they could speak in private. And you turn the page, and you know what actually the first thing I thought when I turned this page? I thought, Destro. But then the second thing I thought was, okay, Mark is playing a clip from Empire Strikes Back where they open the door and Han Solo is surprised by Darth Vader. So in this scene, Destro actually has a magnet in his hand, and he pulls the pistol out of Hawk's. No, I thought, oh my goodness, it's Destro. And then I thought, wait, are those Cobra soldiers behind him red?
They look like it, don't they?
Or is that a Jordie Bellaire like coloring thing? And I'm okay with both. And
well, there isn't on Tom Reilly's line art. He doesn't typically give much instruction to Jordie Bellaire. That generally they just trust her to do what she does. I guess the logical exception would be where you're not trying to give an artistic choice, but more of a descriptive, this thing should be this color because that is the color that it is, but whatever. So are they called out as being red in the script, or is it just purely an artistic choice that she thinks that drawing these particular Cobra soldiers is cool? Because and I guess having them red distinguishes them from being the typical Cobra Commander Cobra.
Right.
Red is the Destro accent color.
Even in 2025, when every figure is getting lots of color variations, and the reaction, the Super 7 Reaction Plus figures, they've like added some characters. Isn't there like a Python Patrol Destro and a Python Patrol Cobra Commander? They were never in that sub team. They didn't have crazy yellow costumes for Python Patrol, but now they do. Even with all of that, I still get a little surge of childhood joy if I see like any Cobra character, a soldier, not a one of a kind person like Destro, in a sort of new color variation that either makes sense for the environment or is just some variety. And my brain started clicking like, oh, are these like crimson Cobra soldiers or crimson Cobra outfits? Or the chest plate on the guy on the right looks a little bit like Crimson Guard Immortal. And then I thought, I should probably actually read the dialogue on this page, because that's actually what this page is about. It's not the guys in the background. Then I read the page and I thought, what a good comic.
So the sort of the interplay here is Hawk saying, Astoria, are you crazy? Destro is the enemy. And Destro seems to be proposing a truce, but more than that they can do business together.
Cobra's weapons could be an asset in your struggles with the robots.
And the other element, she's explaining Cobra is going through a change in management, and the olive branch that they extend is that Destro's head of security, Mercer, has information about your team and the robots that you might not know. They are intuiting.
Clutch, what have you done? Everyone's keeping secrets.
Mercer knows about Clutch and his giant robot friend, and that I guess they suspect that the rest of G.I Joe, the likes of Hawk, do not know about this thing. So, they're using this, and I was wondering whether this could be an opening to sort of integrating. They're talking about Mercer as an olive branch. Could this be the beginning of an opening of integrating Mercer into the G.I Joe team?
Huh.
Somehow.
That's a fun idea. I think what's going to happen is, I think Destro is either doing this because the alien robots are a problem and he wants some allies in this upcoming fight, or he's doing this to mess with Hawk. And either is going to be a good story. I think Cobra Commander is going to come back sooner than Destro and Chameleon seem to think here. So even if this is actually the beginning of some kind of alliance, I think it's not going to last very long, because Cobra Commander is going to come back and there's going to be a big problem with with the usurpation that took place in his absence.
We got a problem. So it makes more sense for Destro to have Hawk on his side, or at least slightly more neutral than as an enemy, because I guess the main function of G.I Joe at this point in time is going after Cobra. So less of that, please, and what can we do to at least work together a bit better?
Wasn't in one of the miniseries? Was it in the Destro miniseries? Destro made a deal with
Flag.
Okay. I'm sorry, I keep getting Hawk and Flag a little bit mixed up in this continuity because Hawk doesn't have a brown leather jacket, and I sort of see them having the same costume, and I'm like, it's the guy who runs G.I. Joe, or is it the other guy who runs G.I. Joe?
Yeah, so after that last scene with Road Pig, initially meeting the Dreadnoks, the next time we see them together, they have well and truly bonded over a shared love of, as I say, doggies and of grape soda. So they say that he loves grape soda as much as we do, and he's got awesome dog and sweet gear. We're going to make him an honorary Dreadnok. Raucous likes you, and that makes you good in my book. And he takes off his sort of boar mask thing, and underneath that mask, he's got quite a sort of a baby face, I would call it, like quite a non-horrific looking face, let's say. Did you sort of pick up on that?
Yes, I imagine this is called out in the script, and Reilly takes it and carries it forward. That if you think of the Road Pig package art for the original action figure, or the Road Pig, or the way that he's painted on the it's like Cobra, like G.I. Joe accessory set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Earl Norham kind of art.
Where he's on the front. He's drawn like a severe adult, like sunburned weightlifter, fighter. Like that guy's been in fights. And if you've seen the Bart Sears internal package painting, I don't think the painting exists, but a color copy of it exists. It's probably in Dan Klingensmith's books, and I have a copy. Like he looks like sort of a crazy grown up, right? And here, I still get the sense that he's a grown up. I don't think this guy is like 17 or 18, but yes, babyface. And I think this is part of the contrast between his two personalities, that you have all of this severity in his uniform and his actions, and then you have this other personality that speaks differently. And here you have this, this baby face, and even maybe a gap between his two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looks like a suggestion of it, doesn't it? And it's sort of like it's quite a simplistic way of looking at the world. You like grape soda, I like grape soda too. Should we be best friends?
Yeah.
And so after they're bonding about grape soda and him having a whole vending machine filled with the good stuff, Buzzer sort of leans in to take a look at Cobra Commander's old face and gets a quite severe bite on his neck, eliciting the reaction "bad dog" from Road Pig, which sort of made me think that maybe his main interactions are with dogs, and that's kind of his go-to phrase when he sees someone sort of playing up that it's typically his dog. So yeah, bad dog punches Cobra Commander out the way.
But also look what's happening in this panel, that he is punching Cobra Commander, but see how he's grabbing Buzzer and pushing him back, but he's not shoving him back violently. That's not, he's protecting him. Right. Mm-hmm. This is someone who's putting himself between the threat and the victim and trying to help the victim. And I don't think I realized he had his crossbow until this panel. That's fun. That accessory was definitely awesome when I got that figure in 1988.
And yeah, sort of. Buzzer is in a bad way. He's got a different lettering treatment here. I don't feel so hot, boys. Did you like me, think that this might be the end of Buzzer here?
Yes.
As we progress through the book, it does seem like perhaps he's not quite at the end of his story. Ripper does say to him, you're right, and he says, I'll live. Let's just get this snake to our crew and skin him.
I think Cobra Commander went for the jugular, and it certainly looks like he got it. I think the story is revealing that he didn't get it. Although, if you bite someone in the neck there and they're bleeding, but I don't want him to die. Everyone take note of how Tom Reilly draws Road Pig every panel for the rest of the book. He maintains this, this baby face. Look at the bottom of page 19. This expression,
Well, I guess it's also contrast between top right of this particular page where he's sort of scowling at Duke and then sort of interacting with his new buddies where he's got the baby face. So it looks like it's kind of and previously as well when he's punching Cobra Commander, he's sort of got this extreme angry face. I think it's this contrasting sort of stepping between being the bad angry guy and the sort of the more of the babyface character. So we are back with the Dreadnoks double page reveal of the gang sort of coming in to find Duke and the rest of the Dreadnoks. They brought along with them the Dreadnok cycle and the stun. We can see Xandar.
And one of those cars from the 60s or 50s, that's definitely like a Transformers Generation 2 toy. Okay, I just wanted to sneak in that reference. There were two Transformers Generation 2 cars. I forget what their names were, but they each had like a light up fist, and you could stick their like translucent like sword into their hand, and you'd push the button, and then their sword lit up. Anyway, maybe someone will tell us in the comments. But they were like 50s hot rod cars. Okay, anyway, back to G.I. Joe.
We've got the Dreadnoks, Xandar Zorana arriving. Cobra Commander is ours. They meet Road Pig for the first time. Welcome to my home. And if you don't want to do this. If you kill us, G.I. Joe will take you down. I think if they let him live, then G.I. Joe will probably say, that's fine, continue. You don't have to worry about us. I think G.I. Joe probably want to take them down regardless. And then it's Zorana finishing up the sequence. You ready to party, Commander? And then we're back to the pit, which is on.
No more construction cranes?
Yeah, is it not under construction, but just on stilts, maybe? It's a bit...
I think that's a... Yeah, I actually don't understand. Is that like a raised roof for the giant gantry elevator so that the elevator, like when it rains and the sun doesn't go down, I don't know, down into that square hole? Anyway, so we check back in at the pit, and it's Clutch and CoverGirl, and they're making a decision.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget that Clutch is in the G.I. Joe team because he is Duke's buddy. He was the person that Duke went to in the Duke series when he was out on the limb and needed someone that he could trust and rely on, and sort of came to the rescue, and then they've been in it together ever since. So naturally, Clutch is going to have some concern for Duke, and while he was Colonel Hawk said to sit still, he wants to take some action. So the Dreadnok War is escalating as the Joes enter the fray. And did you notice on the screen we've got the three Joes who are in Chicago? We've got a little reading, maybe they're showing their vitals, but the headshots are those sort of images of what do we call them, like the character model sheets that Tom Reilly has done, where they're sort of looking at their hands. So they're using those sort of reference images of the Joes, which is cool.
Tom Reilly, instead of drawing a little head for these three Joes in perspective on the computer screen, went into his computer, I'm thinking, and found his scan of his art for those 3 character profile drawings and like shrank them and skewed them in perspective and like comped them into his scan of this page. And I don't know how Tom Reilly feels about this kind of process. I know that if I were to do this, I would think this is going to save me time. If I don't draw them, I just use that little bit of artwork that I already drew. And then by the time I've done it, I'm like, oh, it would have taken a lot less time if I just drawn these 3 new heads.
But also, it's it's their avatar. It's like their their little headshot, their official headshot. So that's a cool thing.
I just want to point out how much I like CoverGirl's pose on this second to last page. I want to say this very gently. It's really subtle. I think I see on this page where Tom Reilly is drawing a little bit faster because maybe he's running out of time compared to some of the other pages in this issue. And this page is still great. A real pro is going to do a good job no matter how much time they have, and it's going to like have a certain internal consistency. It's still a well-designed and drawn page. It's all clear. And I think I just see, as we've seen in 1 or 2 other Tom Reilly issues, the final page, you can see there's like a little less going on. That said, I really like CoverGirl's pose. Her hair, her hand, the shadow on the right side of her face, her lean. That this is a very natural pose, and this isn't a stock pose, and this isn't like a comic book pose. And I thought, man, even on the second to last panel of a book, and even on sort of artistically, whether or not this page was rushed, the least important page of the book, like artistically, right? Like it's, the big moments and the like reveals are happening elsewhere. And this is just sort of like a conversation, right? Just 4 panels of talk. Reilly's skills come through in like just a person sitting there, but the way that she's sitting, one arm on the armrest and the other elbows propping up, but she's sort of got her fingertips on her cheeks. Like she's not like doing the hair, tucking the hair behind the ear. She's not scratching an itch. She's not like putting her chin in her palm. It's actually much more subtle than all of those. And it's like such a throwaway drawing. Like he could have drawn a much less interesting pose here and it'd be like, that's fine. But even here,
I disagree. That panel's all wrong, and the dialogue's wrong. She should have said, "Oh no, I'm so scared for Duke. I'm really worried about what might be happening to him," with a single tear going down her cheek. Carl's collection. Thanks for joining us live, Carl. Evening, fellas. Heck of an issue, right? I think we would conclude, yes. A heck of an issue. I wonder, have you been over to, I know you're the big art guy, have you been over to that website? And,
in the time that we've been talking about all the art for issue 15, Carl
has bought it all.
Right.
Is there a page, Carl, out of this issue that particularly strikes you? What do you think, Tim? Is there one page?
Yes, the conference Cobra Commander and Duke talking. Oh my God.
The one with all of the ink.
Yes. But the question is, do I want, was it 11, 12, or 13? Where'd it go?
Or is that first one on page 4 the most interesting one with them dangling from the ceiling there?
That's great. That's not, there's less, no, someone else can buy that one.
You want the 9 panels.
Yeah. And then okay, I know who I'm seeing on pages. Carl of Carl's collection has commented, guilty. Okay, so page 13. So 11, 12, 13. I know who I'm seeing here. I'm seeing Jaime Hernandez. That's the inking on that third panel of page 13. I don't know if Reilly has rattled off a bunch of artists who he thinks are great, both contemporary and also historically. And I can't remember if Jaime Hernandez of Love and Rockets is in that list, but I'm seeing it on page 11, panel 2, the one where Duke says, "Come on." And I'm seeing it in 2 panels later, the wordless panel where Duke's sort of looking down and struggling. And I'm seeing it on all the Duke panels on the next page and the Duke panels on the next page. Yes, in my funny fantasy where I'm buying a page, Mark, I'm buying all 3 of these pages, framing them and putting them next to each other on a wall. but in the last couple of years, I still buy art, but not very often, because I'm happy to just sort of enjoy it, during the podcast and on a website, and maybe I'll save a JPEG to my hard drive and be happy that someone else can get it.
It is cheaper to look at it on a screen and save a JPEG than it is to buy. But Carl has picked out page 2 with the gut punch panel, Little Mac versus King Hippo from Punch Out. That's an excellent page. I think there's a few to choose from for sure. I think possibly for me it might be that attic shot with them hanging about together. Very cool.
Here's since we are looking at page 4 with that half page panel of Cobra Commander and Duke hanging from ceiling hooks. In the previous episode, I was saying Duke is bigger than Cobra Commander, and because we were talking about the cover and just how big Duke is, and you can really see it here on page 4. Duke is just a bigger guy. He's a little taller and he's just bigger. Anything interesting in the letters page that we need to call out?
I was just going to call out Carl's other comments here. I feel like this scene with Duke and Cobra Commander is what this whole arc was built around. A reason for them to get in the same room for a relatively quiet moment. Because, I mean, it's worth just, putting a pin in that and saying that as cool as the action sequences are, if you're all action all the time, it's you do get tired of just that dynamic that you do need to mix the character moments with the action moments to really sort of build those stakes and your investment in the characters. So, this series is doing that absolutely beautifully.
In the letters page, someone says Snake Eyes, and once again they say, "We know, not yet." And thumbs up from me. Because earlier on when I was saying, Duke is the main character here and the Duke Cobra Commander rivalry is key here, and you were saying it's from his point of view, no one would have faulted Joshua Williamson if in issue 1 of this monthly G.I. Joe comic, Snake Eyes had debuted, right? It's like, okay, you've had your 4 miniseries. Now, get the guys together that you really want to see. And no one would have... It's like, okay, well, you can have one arc where you're going to make us wait because you didn't have him in the Scarlet miniseries with the ninja. Put him in the first arc, not in the first arc. No one would have faulted Joshua Williamson if instead of the Night Force arc from issues 7 to 12, that hadn't happened. And instead, Joshua Williamson brings in Snake Eyes. And it can be a very familiar or a very different take. But as long as Snake Eyes isn't here, we're going to keep focusing that much more on everyone who is here because we're not, this is a harsh word and I don't mean it to sound harsh, distracted by Snake Eyes because he's got such a, you can say it in a negative way, fraught. You can say it in a positive way, rich, backstory and baggage. And to the extent that this series is more like the cartoon, like a mean version of the cartoon, and the cartoon barely used Snake Eyes and certainly did not rely on him. So my vote is to never bring in Snake Eyes, but just keep telling us you will.
And Snake Eyes is to such a huge extent sort of the Larry Hama lead character. It sort of really did, I think the most exciting elements of Snake Eyes' story have kind of been played out in terms of the origin story and so on. So I think having a different focus means that I think it feels like we're not playing, just the greatest hits and it's a new story and that makes it exciting and also distinguishes it from what's being, going on in the pages of A-Ra. And also it's, that delayed satisfaction is sort of creating this expectation and this wait for actually when he does arrive that, you've built up to it. It's not just been dropped in your lap in the first arc or whatever. So, I am very intrigued to know what their plans for Snake Eyes will be when it happens, and I am perfectly happy waiting for it to happen. The letters that sort of jumped out for me was that they've sort of talked about where's Scarlet and the Arashi Kage clan with that Energon artifact, and I think a similar letter was printed last issue as well. So it is a bit of an elephant in the room to some degree that there was you had the 4 initial miniseries: Duke, Cobra Commander, Destro, Scarlet. The first of those, the first 3 of that list, Duke, Cobra Commander, Destro, have very much been part of the build to the G.I Joe ongoing, but Scarlet has not been referenced at all, really, and to the degree that you almost don't know quite where it might even sit in the continuity. So yeah, I think it's interesting that some people are thinking about what's happened to this Scarlet story, where's that gone? And yeah, they do say essentially in reply, your questions do get close to actual plans we have, so yeah, keep reading. So yeah, I think I'm intrigued to see where Scarlet will appear in this world next. And then there was another letter and a comment that sort of puzzled me to some degree. The letter writer says, when Cobra Commander was experimenting on Megatron, did Megs think that the creature sounded an awful lot like a certain treacherous second in command? And if so, will that ever be referenced? That's from Diesel McCoy. And I thought, well, that's obviously a silly answer because they've got the same voice, Starscream and Cobra Commander voiced by Chris Latta in the original cartoon, so they sound similar. But obviously, it's a comic, so they're totally different characters. Don't be silly. But the reply was, I've thought about this a lot, and the best answer I can give is stay tuned. And I was a bit like, what? I was not expecting that as a reply.
I was a little hard on editor Ben Abernethy in a previous recent episode in the letters page of the Larry Hama comic, where he's substitute editing while Alex Antone, editor of that series, is on paternity leave. And I commented that there were a couple letters that one issue where Ben Abernethy's answers are like, I'm not sure. And then one of them seemed a little like to not understand a reference or to not correct an incorrect reference in one of the letters. And I said something like, I want the editors to sort of definitively know the answers to the questions, or like more directly sort of deflect, but not be like, not sort of this middle ground. It's like, and with that letter, I thought, does Ben Abernethy understand this reference? Because, and I think he does, and he's being cute, but it's like, no, they don't have the same voice in this continuity. And like, if they have, like, no, that's confusing and that's Spanish. Like, don't do that. But then 2 letters later, someone says, they're talking about the Night Force arc of G.I Joe. And they say, it reminded me of the Beachcomber issue, probably my favorite in the run. The scene with Shooter and so. And I thought, no, that's not Beachcomber, that's Beachhead. So I know a different editor has said to us, it's not my job to like correct people's spelling errors in their letters, which I disagree with. But I do think if someone misidentifies a character, the editor can correct that, because Beachcomber is an Autobot who's over in Transformers. And I don't think that's what this letter writer is referring to. I think they're referring to Beachhead in G.I Joe. So Ben Abernethy, I just want to nudge you again to not just edit the comics, but edit the letters.
I did take it on face value, though, to be honest. When I read that particular letter, I thought they were talking about the Beachcomber solo issue from Transformers, which acts as a bit of a spotlight. So
that is possible, and it could be that the letter was longer and referred to the Transformers title, and in editing, hey, maybe Ben Abernethy did edit this letter. Maybe in editing the letter, the like sentence that mentioned like over in the Transformers comic, this other thing was happening. Mm-hmm. But in either case, it could be a little clearer. Just as you and I get Road Pig and Roadblock mixed up when we're talking in a podcast, letter writers might be getting Beachhead and Beachcomber mixed up. Also Beach Face, who's my favorite Void Rivals character.
The I think the reply to the one about the Megatron, about the Starscream and Cobra Commander voices, is replied to in that slight italicized font. So I think that is Joshua Williamson replying.
Oh well, I'm sorry, Ben Abernethy, for wagging my finger at you. Joshua Williamson, the beloved writer of G.I Joe. I wag my finger at you for that response, because that response is either confusing or
a bit nuts,
or like inside baseball fanish in a way that this comic, like referencey and Easter eggy, that this comic has not been, that this whole continuity has not been, and I appreciate that. So like if you're building to something cool there, sure, but it's like no, this it's basically a little pet peeve of mine, because I feel like people who aren't big G.I. Joe fans and Transformers fans, if they know one thing about the cartoons, it's like, those guys sounded alike. It's like, no, there's a lot more to know. Like, congratulations. Actors are often cast for multiple roles.
Okay, cool. I think we are almost done with this one. Next time on Talking Joe, we will have issue number 16 out in 2 weeks' time on the 17th of December. So that will be very exciting to look forward to. So 16, 2 weeks' time. Oh, 2 weeks. It's amazing. I think we've got A-Ra in between as well. That'll be very good. So in issue number 16, G.I. Joe and Cobra are on a collision course with the Dreadnoks and whatever remains of Duke and Cobra Commander. The penultimate chapter of the twice-monthly G.I. Joe epic is here. That is followed by issue number 17 on the 10th of January, and then G.I. Joe number 18 just 2 weeks later, I guess, January the 21st. So very, very, very exciting.
It's gonna be really hard in February when Energon Universe G.I. Joe goes back to monthly. Like 2 weeks after after this arc is over, 2 weeks later, you and I will both be sort of scratching. Like, oh, I feel like I should be reading a new issue of G.I. Joe. I have to wait 2 more weeks.
And yeah, sending in emails to Ben Abernethy just saying, "You got any of that good stuff?" Filling in the void will be other. Did you get to see what I did there? Will be other issues from the Energon universe, such as Void Rivals and Transformers. Looking forward to the Quintesson War arriving just in time for Christmas, and also issue number 27 of Transformers on the 10th of December. So we'll do our wrap up of those as always when we next take a tour around the Energon universe. Tim, where can you be found when you are not talking to me about twice monthly comic books from the Energon universe?
Atomic Abe Productions. That's my YouTube channel that my 2 creative partners in New York, where they post funny and smart video essays on TV and film. I have a comic book store, Hub Comics. That's a brick and mortar shop just outside of Boston. And I write about G.I. Joe at my blog, arealamericanbook.com.
Cool. Now, just last week, we released an extra bonus episode talking about the center holds. So do delve on into that episode, check it out and find out more. But Tim, in a nutshell, why would people who like G.I. Joe be at all interested in this book that is not called G.I. Joe, but is actually called The Center Holds?
So I'm the editor of The Center Holds. This is my project. I put it together, and I got Larry Hama, who you all know from G.I. Joe, and Mark Bright, MD Bright, Doc Bright, who you all know from, hopefully, G.I. Joe issues 89 to 107, plus a little bit of 35 and 36, as well as Iron Man and Quantum and Woody and Icon. And I got them to do a creator-owned miniseries that Boom is publishing. First issue will be out February 11th. your comic book store can order it right now. Issue 1, 40 pages. I'm saying this at the beginning of December. Subscribe to this miniseries, and it's great.
Very good. So do, if you've got a pull list at your comic book store, you can ask them to order this for you now. It's encouraged to try and get that in before what we call the final order cutoff, which is that towards the end of this month?
December 22nd. FOC is always a Monday, and stores can order comics after that date, but they're not guaranteed to get them because that's the date when publishers set their print runs based on all the orders that they have gotten. So tell your store now. It's just 4 issues. And did I mention it's great?
Very good. And talk about other episodes that we've done. Our most recent episode, which only actually was released today. We're getting 2 episodes out today, just because of the timing of when we can record to discuss issue number 15. We thought it would be fun to put this out as a live. But yeah, our normal Thursday release is actually this silent interview from Assembly Required, where Tim is talking to Ron Wagner and Phil Hester about their work on silent issues of G.I Joe and much, much more.
I wrote this on my blog, but this doesn't get said aloud during the panel. While we're doing this panel, when Phil Hester is not talking, he's drawing. He's drawing a sketch cover for someone that, like, before the panel, someone had brought him money and said, "Can I get a sketch? Can you draw on this cover, on this blank cover?" So when I'm talking, I've got the microphone. And when Ron Wagner's talking, he's got the microphone. And when Phil Hester is talking, he's got the microphone. And when Phil Hester's not talking, his head is down and he's drawing. He's holding a comic in his lap and he's drawing on the cover.
Yeah, and if you're just listening to the audio only, you can occasionally hear a little sort of scratching, which is a delightful noise of Phil Hester sort of noodling away at this particular sketch. So that's all of our news. If you are new to Talking Joe, you can find us at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website where we can be found. It's got links to the Facebook group, all of the audio podcasts, Instagram, Twitter. We've got a link at the bottom of the page to our new merch store at Public, so you can buy G.I Joe branded merch, T-shirts,
Talking Joe branded,
etc. Did I say G.I Joe?
Yeah.
Oh dear. Yes, you can buy Talking Joe branded stuff. I went a bit merch mad. I got a pen. So you know, they periodically do sales. So the best time to order is to look out for a Public sale and get a discounted T-shirt or whatever. Not fill your boots and knock yourself out. We're almost at 1,100 subscribers, Tim. So if you've not yet subscribed, do make sure that you like the video, subscribe, leave us a comment. We've gone up since we started the episode, Tim. We're now at 1,098. So just need 2 more to push us over to 1,100. So that's very cool. Thanks to everyone who subscribes and listens. And a particular thank you to all of our Patreon members who can find us at patreon.com/talkingjoe. So big thanks to Richard, Sam, Bill, Rob, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, Frank, D, Shane V2. This one is hung up in a darkened loft, unfortunately. Infinite Entertainment, Patrick, Gary V, and Coldroff. They are getting early access to content as well as exclusive bits here and there. Thank you to all of them. So, Tim, I think I've said everything that needs to be said. Is there anything else that you can think of that we've missed before we just conclude?
Yes, I was thinking that people should remember that Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Laters.